Doing something for the first time is wild. And when you think of the outdoors, it's inherently wild. I think the most important thing for me is sharing an activity, sharing what I love with people that have not experienced that or have some kind of barrier related to it. The magic of being able to create that bond, that connection with an activity, a person, a place, that's special. All right, so welcome in another episode of Sincerely Yours Outdoors. What a feeling, man. Literally, sitting in a beautiful spot with the homies. There's really nothing better. So how you feeling? How you guys feeling?
I'm feeling good. This is peace personified. Like being in this beautiful space with people who are like-minded, I am not stressed about literally anything. So it's peaceful, it's healing, this is perfect.
Yeah, I agree. And we were talking before we got rolling here. Marcus got insulted, but that echoing your sentiment, of spending time with like-minded people. And as I was telling you and the team, like this is the largest or like the only opportunity that I've been in a outdoor space with critical mass of Black people. And Marcus got insulted, excluding his youth ski program. But it's beautiful, man, to do just this and to show up authentically, which I feel like everyone's saying a lot about. And I hope that they're saying the same outside of the spaces that you've cultivated as well. But I truly mean it, to spend time in this capacity has just been incredible. It's super exciting. So kudos to you for cultivating that.
Yeah. I want to just kick off the episode one by giving flowers, but also just showing gratitude. Like CJ, I think you're gonna laugh, but surprisingly enough, I see individuals in this field and in this space, in outdoor rec, and the intentionality to make sure that we have a space, whether it be through brotherhood or through identity. And one of the people that always comes to mind is you. Our connection and how we were introduced is serendipitous, but nonetheless, when you had the opportunity to connect with me and I have the opportunity to connect with you, I was so humbled by just your presence and what you've been able to do. So I just want to, one, give those flowers, but also provide the space for you to introduce yourself, how you see best fit, because you wear so many hats and do so many things, but also just share where we are, because I know it means a lot to you.
Sure. Just dangerous of you to give me an opportunity to introduce myself. I might not say all of the things that you're referring to. My name is CJ, you all know, but I was born and raised in New Jersey, and my parents used to kick my brother and I out. They're Jamaican immigrants, and they used to kick my brother and I out the house all the time, just like go outside, play, come back when the lights are off. That's kind of where my connection to the outdoors started. That and my mom and my grandmother, their desire to have their hands in the ground for like flowers and for food. I like to show up in the world as a weaver. I learned that term a couple years ago, and I think it really fits who I am and who I desire to be. I'm not like the creator of what is happening. I'm not the creator of the elements that I'm working with, but I'm a weaver. I'm taking what is present, what I'm connected to, and threading it to create, to like foster something, something bigger. I like to consider myself a weaver, a gardener, a connector, and things like that. I believe that, you know, everyone has their special ability, their special power, their that unique quality about them, that purpose for why they're here. And good coach, a good mentor, a good facilitator can see that in people, or can recognize what's necessary to bring that out, and works to do that. And so that's how I try and show up to places, whether it's connecting people to ideas, people to other people to, you know, a greater vision for a community. That's how I want to show up.
It's lovely. And we're sitting in a space that I know means a lot to you.
Yeah.
Are you interested in just pointing out
Yeah.
the vastness of the space?
Yeah. Don't ask me to name any plants because it's been a while, but I like literally 11 years ago, I was here probably learning how to canoe in this same little area. The North Cascades Institute hired me as a summer instructor for their Youth Leadership Adventures program. I had zero experience in formal experience in outdoor recreation. And they hired me for some reason, probably because of references and things like that. It's funny because my name is Courtney Goulding Jr., which is why I go by CJ, and they did that. They had to interview with me, and then when I showed up, the person that met me was surprised to physically see me. She opened the door and was like, Courtney? And I was like, now I know what this summer is about to be. I was like, okay, I'm ready. But yeah, I spent a summer here learning outdoor recreation, learning the tenets and core pieces of outdoor recreation alongside the youth that I was working with, which I think gave a connection between us and gave us a special bond, besides the fact that they saw a leader who looked like them. And so this place means a lot. It was the first place I got to experience this backcountry camping and canoeing and learn a lot of these skills. It's a beautiful park and majestic park just in general.
Yeah.
And it tapped into my favorite part of outdoor recreation, which is being out on the water. So I got to spend weeks on canoes and things like that. So it's a combination of all of those things, and came at such a foundational place in my development that it inspired me to do some of the other things that came next. And so for me, when I had the opportunity after, a few years, after doing several different things and growing in experience or influence or resources that were at my disposal, I was like, if we come back to the Pacific Northwest, I want to bring people here to this space to be in this beautiful context and to see the magic that happens when people come together.
Mm-hmm. And picking right up with that, and you mentioned weaving and your start, not that this is your finish here, but let's capture this stage of Boyz N the Wood and that intersection of this space. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I like you called it Boyz N the Wood. I love when people
Boyz N the Wood. Yeah,
it's perfect. I love when people switch the H and the W, because it's yes, cultural context, cultural connections. It's
I get
stuck in your head somewhere. Good.
Yeah.
I hope we get stuck the same way. I think that a lot of organizations that do outdoor recreation are often trying to get better at diversity, equity, and inclusion. The fact is that they were created for specific people, to serve specific people, and they do that very well. And so they're those efforts to shift that large ship that's been moving in a certain direction for a long time, they struggle with that. And so one of the hats I wear outside of Boyz N the Wood is as a diversity, equity, and inclusion facilitator and trainer. And I often see that struggle, and over the past few years, it's been a desire of mine to do more creation of spaces that are grounded culturally, that are safe culturally, that hold all of the practices and foundations and things that we want and values that we want at our core, instead of trying to shift an old ship retrofit an old ship to do that.
Okay.
And so that's what Boyz N the Wood is kind of about. It's a recognition of I have these connections. I have these folks who I'm working with who think in a like-minded way. There's this need that I experience as an individual and that other people around me experience. What if I just pulled all these pieces closer to the middle of the table and wrapped it in and wrapped it together to see what would happen, and then push that influence back onto the field instead of trying to tweak the field to serve folks. Like, what if I could directly serve us
Yeah.
first
Yep.
and let the field take care of itself? And that's what Boyz N the Wood is trying to do. It's like, let's create space for us
Yeah.
so that we can better do what we're trying to do for our communities. And I'm excited to do it. I'm excited to do it with you all. I'm excited to do it with everyone who shows up here. You asked how I was doing at the beginning, and once the pressure of organizing and getting people here is done, I know that people are going to show up in amazing ways and create, and like the branches of what comes out of here are going to be far bigger than what I did to get us here. And so I'm like, cool, now I get to watch.
Yeah.
Now I did the facilitating to bring us together, now I get to watch. And I'm excited, but I'm excited to see how that grows.
Yeah, that's magnificent, and just to be part of it has been excellent. You know, as I alluded to in our intro there. So we jumped a little bit. Let's backtrack
Okay.
into, and you mentioned your origin of being outdoors as little CJ.
Yep.
Did they call you little CJ?
I never the little, but CJ for sure.
That'd be like two together, two nicknames together. Talk about and like share your experience of like your origin in terms of being outdoors. You mentioned your mom. You mentioned the gardening and whatnot there. Talk about that.
Yeah. So I love my outdoor origin because it gives me perspective on what I do today in the outdoor recreation and education field. There was, I mean, it's a story that's pretty typical. I think that's pretty standard in communities of color, with people of color, where hiking wasn't a term that was, generally used. But my brother and I would walk to the park all the time. We'd play catch in the park all the time. We'd ride our bikes throughout the town all the time. We'd dig holes in my grandmother's garden all the time. We'd get in trouble for that all the time. But like still, it was this measure of not being separate from nature, but being connected to it in like every single aspect possible. Like I said, my mom would pull off to the side of the road when she'd be driving us, and she'd pull out her little gardening shears out of the glove compartment and like see a bush that she liked at someone's house and run over and just like, and we'd be like, oh my gosh, she's stealing plants from them. But like, there was a fascination and a curiosity with nature. She'd want to go to botanical gardens. We'd be outside playing with our cousins. Like nature was part of our life, part of our community. And so it was only when I went to college and was looking for an internship and got officially connected to the national parks that I saw the structure piece of nature and outdoor recreation. But up until then, it was a part of who I was. There was no separation. And I think that gives me the ability to be able to connect people, to bridge people in that same way, saying like, hey, nature is around you. Here, let's explore the ways that you're connected. And there's this other way of interacting with nature and these other pieces, this grandiose side of nature that you can also connect to and have ownership to as well.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful point, because I know the work that you have written as well in terms of showing up in spaces and just that continuation of what you got on your feet and being able to wear those in spaces and bring our culture and say, this can work just as good as a boot. This fit can be functional just like your cargo pants, like all that stuff. I appreciate you for writing that, because I think that set a vision for me to be able to understand that I can do that as well. I can wear whatever I want and excel, have an experience outside. It doesn't have to be this boxed in feeling of, yeah, I have to go and trek vertically for 6 miles at this rate of speed and at this incline. It's just take the journey, take the path how you want to. The destination is yours, but have fun while doing it and at your own pace and speed. So, yes, thank you for that, CJ. Thank you.
I think it's a benefit of me being sarcastic and stubborn, where I was like, I'm not doing it the way you want me to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's not who I am.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to fit the box that you're creating for me. And I think we need that.
Yeah.
We need people who approach things differently so that we learn from that. I mean, that's what the true beauty and essence of diversity is. If everyone was a mountain climber, there wouldn't be enough mountains to climb, and there wouldn't be a lot of stories to tell about the beauty of nature. If all we had were mountains. Like, you need kayakers, and you need this variety of stories that is more than we can put in a box. We like to put things in boxes because it makes it simple for us as humans. But I love being able to like tear down a wall of someone's box, not violently or physically, but like opening it up for them to be able to see like there are other ways to tap into what you're looking to get to.
Right.
And it wasn't on purpose. This wasn't on purpose, but like after writing that and talking about it, it gives people a visual or the language and a framework to understand the way that they've always connected as well, or what they were thinking or feeling as well. And so I'm happy that I got the words that help other people tell their story.
Yeah, for sure. And I think from even a consumer marketplace, I mean, I can't think of the timing just because of what you had provided in an article to when products were releasing. But, you know, I think of the ACG line for Nike. I think of Timberland now coming out with more like retrofitted boots that are front, backcountry, and urban specific. Or just taking literally a Timberland boot and going out and hiking. Like, that's now it's socially acceptable for, you know, people that want to be in the fashion and art world. So
I wish I could take credit for that, but they did not.
They did not consult you.
They did not. They were not like, you know what we're gonna do. We read this and we're gonna change the way. Nope.
Yeah.
So who knows? But I'm not taking any credit for it. But I'm happy to see it for sure, because it's like, yes, it doesn't have to be this elitist thing. You can meet people where they're at.
Yeah. And I think the more people sharing that sentiment of, yo, it's okay to come out in whatever you're wearing, is beneficial for everyone, because, you know, not everyone's going to be online looking at Supreme, or, you know, even though that's an extremely popular brand, not everybody connects with Supreme, or not everybody connects with X brand. So, you know, people like you that are plugged in community that can just say, come kick it with me on this trail. And when I ask you what to wear and you say, whatever, like that's comforting, you know? Like,
And to mean it.
Bet, I'll be there, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And to mean it is important. CJ, I'm gonna ask you a big question.
Okay.
Picking up right where you left off initially. You mentioned curiosity and how that manifested within your family, with your mom taking those shears out and propagating other people's plants. Yeah. Shout out to mom. Want to give her credit for doing that. What are you curious about now?
That is a big question. I was like, it's not gonna be that big. It is.
And then I was like,
You got me.
Well, look at that.
Because I'm a firm believer of curiosity as the fuel that makes things happen.
Yeah.
And when that is inevitably stifled, I think that's when a multitude of things stop.
Yeah.
Progress.
Yep.
Advancement. Streamlining.
Critical thinking.
Yes. Efficiency.
Yeah.
You know, when curiosity is stifled, that's when all those things stop. And embedded within all of the work that you do and all that you've done to this point, I'm assuming, has been curiosity. And you've even alluded to it with like breaking down walls and having people look outside of their own vantage point, and adjacently creating spaces for others that are outside of the streamline of recreation and things of that nature, which you have to be curious to create those, you know, because looking at it now, it's like, oh, that's ingenious, you know, but why wasn't anyone else doing it you know, before? So, and this may be like a play of like what's coming next for you, which I don't want it to be that. But like, what are you curious about now?
Yeah. Thanks for extending the question so that I would have time to make up an answer. I appreciate that.
What to give context? What to give context?
I was like, good, now I have an answer. I think there are a couple of things or ideas that I'm curious about. I think that I talked about weaving and building relationships between people. And over the past few years, our country has become more divisive, or like that people dig holes in the world sets and in world views and mindsets that they hold. They dig really deep trenches and form battle lines. I have a deep curiosity about like what healing looks like between people with opposing and differing mindsets in our society, and if that's something that's possible. There's a lot of like desire. Same way I have interest in creating this space for us as Black men. I'm like, what if I created spaces where people could like build these connections and can talk through their worldviews and their viewpoints, and what would that momentum look like to creating change in our society, and is it something that's possible? I have curiosities about what is possible if we are healing and invested as Black men and folks in the Black community. What happens if we do that work internally? What would we be able to shift? What would we be able to? How would we be able to flip systems that prey on us being stuck in our trauma or being pitted against each other? Yeah. Like, how could we form coalitions and communities that are strong enough to fight back against those systems? I'm curious about the next time the Knicks are going to win the championship, which is probably bigger than those other two things. We'll probably get world peace and healthy Black communities before we get the Knicks winning a championship. But oh my God. I'm curious about I'm curious about things big, and so I'm curious about how long I'm gonna stay in the country. Like if I want to live in the country or move to some place and just like be near the water and like enjoy life to that degree. And then I think oftentimes I'm curious about if I'm like fulfilling my purpose and if I'm like living up to my potential. Yeah, those are the small and big things, serious and non-serious things that I'm curious about.
Yeah. And not to kick you while you're down. But
About my about me fulfilling my potential, or about the Knicks?
The Knicks.
No, you're not gonna kick me.
I think you're right. Yeah.
It's not gonna hurt. It can't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
I think the two conditions you mentioned are probably would occur before the Knicks win the championship. Sorry, Knicks fans out there, but it is what it is.
Man, you were teeing up that foot, boy. You were going to put it on the neck. It was no holding back.
No, there was
not one bit.
But I on a serious note, we have been talking throughout this experience with Boyz N the Wood to this point. And I mentioned this last night when chatting with people. Is balancing ambition with duty.
Yeah.
And the ways in which those two, when unbalanced, can create havoc. So to mention, you reaching your full potential and finding your purpose, I think when you find that balance, that will come.
Yeah.
And I would say largely through my naive eyes of just connecting with you throughout this point and spending time in the spaces that you've curated, I would say you're doing a pretty good job, within those things as well. But just continuing to assure you're restful, within that time and creating space for you. You know, I know you're consuming it as you're here with us in a restful state. But I'm excited, you know, to see your vision of addressing that curiosity. You know, the fact that you have answers, period, about that means that you're seeking, and what is sought after is found, right? So I'm excited to see you take that and find it, you know, admittedly, throughout that time as well. You got something you want to jump in with?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't directly gotten to Boyz N the Wood.
Yeah.
I mean, I want you to have the space and the latitude to be able to display that in the fashion that you see best fit. I think we've referenced and just asked questions and spoken a bit about our experience this far, but can you display to the viewers what you have created along with Ron and others in this space that has brought immense value to myself, just like being in this space in this moment?
Yeah. The ultimate goal or vision for Boyz N the Wood is healing Black men being able to be leaders and creating healing for their communities through the context of nature and intensive, immersive spaces focused on giving them support and connection and resources to be able to grow. I think, like I was saying before about my history and connection with this place, or the work that I've been fortunate to be involved in the outdoor arena, whether it be recreation or education. I've learned that nature is powerful to create spaces where you're separate from your daily life and your daily habit, and also provides physical, mental, and emotional benefits. I don't think nature is the like end all be all, but I know that it's useful as a framework and useful as a tool. I'm someone who I have struggled with depression and anxiety in the past. I think there have been like 3 major depressive episodes I've had in my life, and through those experiences, I've learned, one, what gets me out of it, or what helps me, and I've learned to recognize when that shows up for other people in some spaces as well. And then I think I'm just, this is not a pat on the back, where this is probably the biggest pat on the back you'll hear me say, is like, I feel like I'm genuinely a caring person. And so I often want to help. I want to help. And so it started with me wanting to help, figure out how I could help Black community, Black women in particular. And they were like, please just like, y'all got shit to take care of yourselves as men.
Work on you.
If you all can go take care of that, it will be much easier for us to take care of all these other things. And so I was like, oh, cool. Let me go check with everybody else and see how they feel about that. And so it was just a matter of, again, weaving. Like, I was like, oh, I have this nature experience and access to natural resources. I have this like facilitation experience and like this leadership development experience, and this like I have that I can pull in together. And then Ron and I took a trip with some of his friends, and I was like, this is also a need, so I can serve. It's an opportunity to serve. I call it selfish work because I'm helping myself and helping others at the same time. And so I'm never going to lose passion for this. I'm never going to be like, oh, I'm healed now, so I don't need to do this anymore. Or like, everybody is healed, so I can leave it. But it's something that will continue to bear fruit. It's something that will continue to require investment, and the garden will continue to need tending. And so Boyz N the Wood is ultimately where I'm bringing all those resources to bear, and trying to put them in the same space. We did research. We started doing research and dove in throughout the pandemic and saw spaces where people were continue to feel that increasing levels of isolation, especially talking to men and my friends, and they're like, yo, bro, I really appreciate you giving me a call, because like I realize now I'm not at work every day. I don't have this group of friends that I thought I had. I don't have that support I thought I had. And so I was like, all right, this is a need. It's speaking to me. It's speaking to what we're trying to build, and there's something I can do, so I'm going to try and do it. And that's what this is. We have the seed. We have a little starter plant that we bought from Lowe's of an idea that we're bringing home. But I'm really excited about the potential we have to bring other people into this and to amplify what we're able to do. I think there are a lot of people doing this kind of work all over the country. A lot of amazing people doing similar, having similar experiences with amazing expertise. And if I can create spaces where that can be tended to, or at least where they can be tended to do that work, or I can use whatever cred or influence or relationships I have with financial resources or natural resources to advance that, then that's what I'll do. And that's what Boyz is about, is bringing these pieces together, bringing the mental health space close to the natural space, bringing these people doing the great work close to a space where they can be supported, bringing financial resources closer to people doing the actual innovative great work, and then allowing things to cook.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with where it goes from there.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't speak more highly of the experience I've had this far, and I can say this is exactly what I needed and where I needed to be, you know. Being around brothers that are doing the same work, like in Alex that's doing nonprofit work, you, Ron, people that understand the entrepreneurial journey of a nonprofit and the reason we all created something.
Mm-hmm.
And we're pouring our heart into it, but majority of the time not even taking care of ourselves, you know. And we're covering a bleeding heart while trying to like love another. And it's been difficult in every sense, but literally walking in the first day, the first hour, literally seeing like brothers and hugging brothers, dapping brothers up, saying like, yo, I see you, I want to connect, like what you doing. It doesn't even have to be work. It's just like, what's going on in Pittsburgh, or what's going on in San Antonio, or what's going on here. And there's nothing better. Like there's not a better feeling than that. And even not even having Wi-Fi service or phone service, like that's just another component that's assisted in me just unwinding and being. Just being myself, being with brothers. And the mental health component has just been weaved throughout. You know, there's components that have been very transparent of, we're focused on this. And then there's moments where I'm just stepping back and saying, oh, I see what CJ did. You know, like
CJ,
I see what you
what
did.
you did here.
Yeah. I got you. And it's been great, man.
Wait, can you remind me of those things that I did, just in case I would like to do them again?
Well, I mean, obviously we're sitting and looking at the boat right here, and I mean, Alex, man, I see you. He called me out while I was paddling because I was just like, man, this is great. I've done this 5,000 times. This is no problem. And then we get obviously to the center of the lake here, and it's just so meditative. I'm just like literally looking around. And I think the timing component, I think hypercritically, but the timing of us getting out between the 10 and 11:30 hour, the spot of the sun, the angle and the intentionality around me, my love for birds and being able to look around in the center of the lake and say, there's a red-tailed hawk, there's a falcon, there's a warbler. Like all of these things, it just connects with me because when I go back home to Riverview Park and all of these other spots, I'm going to be able to come back and say, oh, that warbler that's migrating at the same pattern, I saw you here. And it was beautiful, and it was with my brothers, you know? So that's why I'm saying, like, those moments, wow, I'm gonna give you your flowers. Like, you put me out there. So it's like, you know, I was out there, but I think the timing and the intention is clear. And with the content that's been shared, the message that's been shared with the Boyz N the Wood's team, and the curriculum that is so eye-opening of the self-work that needs to be done for me to better serve community and better serve my brothers in this space. There's not enough that I could do to pay this back.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to pay it back.
But yes, yes, but that's like the internal trauma that I have, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm working through is like, man, I've been operating at such a moment where it's, you know, you gave me so much, so I feel as if I'm indebted. Not to you, CJ, but you see what
I
I'm
understand,
working
but I'm
through.
saying like, imagine if
Exactly.
that energy was like, you've given me so much, I can now
Share it.
Stewardship.
Yeah, now I can now give in all of these other ways, or I've now like been connected to these other ways of being, of living, of being connected, of like you said, of stewardship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's payback, not a payback, but it's like a pay forward,
yeah.
or just like I believe that it's cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
A week from now, there will be something that comes across your desk where you're able to like direct that energy back to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were filled with some energy and inspiration and ideas, and we talked about what we're working on. You talked with a couple other people here, you got an idea. You are going to run into something that, a key that opens a door for me.
Yeah.
Or opens a door for someone else. And if that happens, then this is worth it.
Yeah.
Like, then this is a success. If you don't have to continuously use that key to open up doors for yourself, and you can like, you've been filled, so you have like the capacity to do that for other people, then that's success. The paying it forward is the thing. And I know that's how you operate. But I'm like, trust me, it will come.
Yeah.
And even when we hopped on the phone, I was like, listen,
Yeah.
I don't expect anything to come out of this.
Yeah.
There's no expectation that I have of this right now. I just like building relationship and trust that something will come of it in the future, and we'll find alignment if we're moving in a particular. If we share a vision, share values, we'll find alignment. We'll find ways to act on that in the future. And this is just the first example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, the posture of weaving, as you've continued to allude to, but more often just like connecting.
Yeah.
You know, connecting people. Have you always been in that posture of like connecting, stewarding, being the conduit of like, I know this person, I know what they need, I know also this person may need something similar, perhaps there's something there. Has that always been your posture?
Yeah, I think so. I get it from my dad in part. My dad's a pastor, and I think he's not perfect, but I've seen a lot of examples of servant leadership from him. Even when people were being complete, like terrible people towards him, I've seen him be able to like hold that idea of like stewarding people towards this greater purpose, or connecting people and bringing people together in a way that brings them one step further. And so I've always been someone who is paying attention to where the gaps are and if I can help plug those gaps. I'm not always successful. I mean, I'm not always correct either,
Yeah.
but paying attention to those gaps and building relationships are two things that I'm always doing, even if I'm not acting on them. And then the weaving part comes when I see a place that where that action would be supportive. But yeah, that's just I think that's just part of who I am.
Yeah. And like, you know, socially, you know, the synergistic nature of like connecting others isn't typical, you know? The modern cultural way of moving is advancement at all costs, you know? So the fact that you're doing that of like, this may not be my play, like, it's your play, like, is like abnormal in that nature.
Yeah, I think so. One of the mindsets or frameworks that I tap into or I believe in is the idea of, now I forgot it, a mindset of abundance instead of a scarcity mindset, or asset-based
Yeah.
thinking instead of deficit-based thinking. I never want to get stuck in thinking we don't have enough,
Yeah.
because I don't believe in that. And even when there are oppressive systems at play, I don't believe in. I do not subscribe to the idea that oppressive systems are uncontrollably strong, as in like they can be defeated.
Yeah.
They ultimately fall because that's not how we're supposed to live. That's not how we're supposed to operate. I believe in the fact that community and connection are how we survive as pieces of nature and as human beings. And so I'm always like, nah, there's a way for this to work. Like, yes, it seems like we have to raise funds for this, but there's a way where like if we connect and connect with another person, we can connect with this funder and like then we can make this happen for us. Like there's a way for us to create things even if it doesn't exist right now. And so that idea of abundance, I'm never like focused on. Yes, I get frustrated sometimes when I'm like, okay, well, I feel like I'm doing something good here, but like folks who think differently are being celebrated. Folks who are like, focused on their ego or not doing work with roots are being celebrated.
Yeah.
But that eventually goes away because I'm like, what am I going to do? Play that game?
Yeah.
I can't. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I can't pretend to live that way. It's not authentic to who I am.
Yeah.
And so I'm always going to think in this, in an abundance, in an idea of abundance, in an idea we can go get it. It's out there for us to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And there is an answer that we can get. Again, I'm stubborn. I'm never going to be like, there's no hope.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we can figure it out.
Yeah.
Let's put our heads together. Let's make sure we have food. Let's make sure we're connected. Let's make sure we're supporting each other. Now let's go figure it out.
Power is in collaboration.
Yeah.
I think Rick Ross said they're printing money every day.
Yeah,
So
they are. Perfect.
Right on time.
So I agree. There's always a will. There's always a way, especially through the pathway of collaboration.
Yeah.
Within that, two's better than one, three's better than two, so on and so forth. There. So I love that. I didn't know if there's anything else you wanted to jump into, but how can people stay connected to Boyz N the Wood?
They can contact us. I think there's a contact sheet on our website which is boyznthewood.org. They can contact us through Instagram, which is them Boyz N the Wood, DEM Boyz N the Wood. We haven't yet been able to annoy the person holding the Boyz N the Wood Instagram tag to give it up with their 2 posts and that were made in 2012, but we'll figure out some way. We'll find some way to get that. But they can contact us through Instagram and through our website with our email. Those are the 2 main ways that they can get connected.
Them franchise boys. You know that? Okay.
Hold on.
It's memorable to me. Hey, I rock with it. Yeah, final 2 questions, CJ. What are you consuming right now? It could be a book, it could be audio, it could be cinema, whatever you're consuming that you want to share.
One is, I forget the specific title of the book, but it's called like Healing Through Banana Leaves or something like that. It works on, it talks about indigenous methods and practices of healing. Mm-hmm. I'm training a group of indigenous young leaders to help lead a series of workshops for about like 80 other indigenous high schoolers at the end of June. And so I'm trying to learn to be able to support, not only to support them in their facilitation, but learn from them and their culture. So that's one thing I'm consuming. And over Memorial Day weekend, something I was supposed to do got canceled. And so I was home and didn't have anything to do, which was great for a rare moment over the past couple of months. and I like binge watched the Queen Charlotte Bridgerton series, and I was just like, oh, this is very entertaining. I actually am very glued to this for a various number of reasons. Just like there's good character development, the music was wonderful. I love history, so like all of those things were good factors. So those are two random things that I'm consuming.
I love that.
Random question. Your thoughts on Snowfall finale? Did you watch it?
Yes, I did.
I guess the real tea is it better than The Wire or no?
So the real tea on the real tea is that I've never seen The Wire.
Oh, okay.
Okay. No judgment passed?
So I've been meaning to watch The Wire.
That's a binge for the next canceled
It is.
event.
It is a binge for the
Next
next
few
cancel.
canceled events.
Yes.
It's a lot of
So
seasons.
I haven't watched The Wire. So I'll answer the first question since I don't have context to answer the second one.
Okay.
I love the story of I love Franklin's ambition. I recognize the patterns of what happens when wheels and when you mentioned ambition earlier.
Yeah.
And you said something about like ambition being paired with duty, but ambition being paired in this case, there was no duty to anyone but himself.
Yep.
There was no purpose to his community, even when he pretended to. And so I could see the wheels of ambition spinning him off of his path a couple seasons ago. And so it's just, and I think I look at myself and I'm like, oh, that's why they're calling. I looked at, I could see that happen, and I just reflect on myself like, I want to turn up my ambition, but I don't want to lose my duty. I don't want to lose my purpose. And so I take all of that as like lessons and pull from those characters to do that.
One last question, then we'll wrap. What's your next journey?
So yes, the Native Youth Community Adaptation and Leadership Congress is happening at the end of the month, or in 3 weeks. So 100 Native youth from all over the country are coming together to West Virginia to work on projects and learn about climate change and work on projects around climate change in their communities. And so I'm helping a group of slightly older Native youth facilitate some training for the remainder of them. And so I'll be in West Virginia for a week, coaching them through that process.
Dope. That's beautiful. East Coast. You'll
Yeah.
be near us.
Yeah.
In the
Well,
Berg.
New Jersey man, so he's got to go back home sometime, right? That's great. Well, CJ, thank you, my brother. It's been
man.
great to share space with you outside of this podcast.
Yeah.
But it's a pleasure to have you as a guest, and I look forward to many more interactions with you, again, outside of this space, and our continued brothership and bond. So thank
Absolutely.
you for that. With that, we're going to wrap.
Appreciate you, my guy.
Peace out.